Good morning, Your Honor.
All right, good morning. Thank you. Mr. Mr. Seeger, I know that your client was recently sentenced to prison. Do you know whether or not we're going to be able to have him present? I know sometimes there's issues when they're going through
Your Honor, I
the
did
process.
talk to Mr. Ziegler this morning. Mr. Ziegler had indicated that the writ was acknowledged. I'm hoping that he does, in fact, appear. But if he does, if I could have 5 minutes, I did talk to him before he was sent to prison. Um, and so hopefully we're able to resolve the file this morning.
Okay. They have not signed in yet, so I guess I'm just going to have you guys just hold on the line here for a minute and see if they connect with Mr. Hulwick, and then we'll go from there.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Your Honor, my staff is on the phone with Egler. Apparently, they had all their polycoms in use. They are attempting to dial in right now.
Oh, okay. All right. If just to let you know, oh, here they are. Okay, great. All right, sir. Are you Paul William Holwick?
Yes.
Okay. All right. We'll go on the record. This is People versus Holwick, case number 244949. The record should reflect that Mr. Holwick is present today by video from Department of Corrections. We have Mr. Seeger on his behalf also appearing by Zoom video, and the prosecutor, Mr. Ziegler, by Zoom video. This was set for a plea hearing this morning. And I do have a copy of the plea sheet, although I don't have the information. So I see that the offer was to plead to counts 2 and 4 for the dismissal of 1 and 3. But Mr. Seeger, if you can outline what those counts are, as well as the maximum statutory penalties for those.
Your Honor, it would be a domestic violence third, which is a 5-year felony, and interfering with an electronic communication device, which would be a 2-year felony. Additionally, well, you have the plea sheet, Your Honor, wherein the agreement is that it would be a 21-month cap to run concurrent to his other file.
Okay, Mr. Ziegler, is that a correct statement of the plea offer in this case?
It is, Your Honor.
Okay, and I did get a notification this morning that the victim wanted to be part of the hearing today. I just want to note for the record that I don't see anyone else attempting to join the Zoom. So the victim may be viewing this on YouTube. My question, Mr. Ziegler, is whether or not you've discussed this plea agreement, in particular the cap on sentencing with the victim, and whether or not the victim is going to have any kind of objection to that at the sentencing hearing, to your knowledge.
Your Honor, I've discussed it with her, and my staff has discussed it with her. I don't know if objection is the right word, but I think we're prepared to move forward. I wouldn't say there's more that I think she would want out of it, but I think we have an understanding that this is how we're going to move forward.
Okay. All right. Mr. Holwick, have you been able to hear everything we've said with regard to the plea agreement today?
Yes.
Okay. And have you had a chance to discuss that plea agreement with your attorney, Mr. Seeger?
Yes.
Do you want any more time to do that today before we proceed, or are you ready to move forward?
I believe we're all set.
Okay. Mr. Seeger, I know that you indicated prior to the start of the hearing that Mr. Holwick may want to speak with you. Are you ready to go forward, or did you want to have an opportunity to do that?
Your Honor, as long as Mr. Holwick is all set, then I'm fine with it, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Holwick, can you raise your right hand, please? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. You can lower your hand. And Mr. Seeger, I understand the terms of the plea agreement and the concurrent sentencing. Are there any other potential for any kind of parole or probation violation resulting from this plea and any additional penalties?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Holwick, and Mr. Seeger, are you aware of any, or Mr. Ziegler, of any mandatory consecutive sentencing sanctions? I'm assuming that you guys have reviewed that, given the nature of the plea agreement and the concurrent sentencing, but are you aware of any factors here that would require consecutive sentencing?
No, Your Honor.
No, sir.
Okay. So, Mr. Holwick, you understand that by pleading guilty to domestic violence as a third offense, that the maximum possible penalty that you could face would be up to 5 years?
Yes, Your Honor.
And that by pleading guilty to interfering with electronic communication, the maximum possible penalty that you could face would be up to 2 years?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so with those maximum penalties in mind, what is your plea to each of those charges today?
Guilty.
Right now, you have certain rights. I'm going to go through those with you. You have the right to have a trial. You have the right to be tried by a jury. You have the right to be presumed innocent until proven guilty. You have the right to have the prosecutor prove beyond a reasonable doubt that you are guilty. You have the right to have any witnesses against you appear at trial and to question those witnesses. You have the right to have the court order any witnesses on your behalf appear at trial. You have the right to remain silent during a trial and to not have that silence used against you, and the right to testify at a trial yourself if you want it. You understand that you have all of those rights,
Yes.
and you understand that you're giving up and waiving all of those rights by pleading guilty, including the right to have a trial.
Yes.
Also, you don't have an automatic right to appeal the plea that you're making today. If you wanted to try to appeal it, you would have to ask the Court of Appeals to hear your case. If they said no, then that would be the end of any appeal. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Has anyone threatened you with anything to get you to plead guilty?
No.
Has anyone promised you anything other than what we've said on the record here in court today?
No.
Is it your own free choice to plead guilty?
Yes.
Are you pleading guilty because you are guilty?
Yes.
All right, Mr. Seeger, since I don't have the information here, including dates and so forth, I'm going to ask that you conduct some questioning of your client to establish a factual basis.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Holwick, on or about July 2nd of 2024, were you in Kalkaska County?
Yes.
And on that date, did you get into a physical altercation with your significant other?
Yes.
All right. And on that date, at some point in time, she had a phone in her hand for which you took it from her. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. And you have been previously twice convicted of domestic violence. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Holwick, Mr. Seeger characterized the victim in this case as your significant other. At the time that this occurred, did you have a dating relationship with her?
Married.
Married, okay. And the physical altercation, was that something, physical contact that you had with her that was unwanted contact? In other words, not something that she consented to?
Yes.
All right. Mr. Ziegler, are you satisfied with the factual basis?
I am, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Ziegler, are the people aware of any threats, promises, or inducements other than what's been placed on the record?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Seeger?
No, sir.
Mr. Ziegler, are the people satisfied that the court has complied with statute and court rule in the taking of this plea?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Seeger?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Holwick, the court finds that your plea is knowing, voluntary, and accurate. The court is satisfied that there is a factual basis to support a finding that you are guilty of each of these charges. The court will accept your guilty plea. We'll set this matter for a sentencing hearing. Mr. Holwick, you do have the right to have that hearing in the courtroom in Kalkaska when myself, Mr. Ziegler, and your attorney are all present. And if you wanted to exercise that right, the court would sign an order to have you physically transported to Kalkaska for purposes of that hearing. You can waive that right, and we can have that hearing by video as we're doing today. Do you know how you would like to proceed in that regard?
I'd like to waive that. It sounds expensive and a lot of handcuffs.
All right, so the
It's a
court
3-hour
will-
drive from here.
All right. So the record will reflect that Mr. Holwick's waived his right to have his hearing for sentencing in Kalkaska. Someone from the probation department will be in touch with you, Mr. Holwick, to complete a pre-sentence report. And Mr. Ziegler, I'll just ask that you prepare a writ for a video sentencing hearing once that's scheduled by the court.
Yes, Your Honor.
Your
Mr.
Honor,
Seeger?
the only
Yeah,
thing
go
that I
ahead.
would note is that it is historically difficult to coordinate with the Department of Corrections, especially when somebody's in Jackson. So if I get the pre-sentence report, Your Honor, I can try and mail it to him, but it would be difficult to review it with him per se in advance of without him physically coming to court. But be that as it may, Your Honor, I can at least try and send it there. And if there's a technical problem, maybe I can review it with him if the court would give me a small breakout room in the morning of his sentencing or afternoon.
Well, and the other thing that we could do, Mr. Seeger, if after the pre-sentence report is prepared and sent out, if you're unable to communicate with Mr. Holwick because he's at Egler, and you have a date that he's going to be leaving there, you know, I would be willing to adjourn sentencing once he's moved to a different facility where you can have contact with them, because obviously we wouldn't be able to go forward if you haven't had a chance to review the pre-sentence report with them anyway.
And Your Honor, the only reason why I'm trying to expedite sentencing, Your Honor, is because technically it's all dead time because he's under sentence. And so I'm trying to, that's part of the reason why I tried to fast forward his plea date, so that his time could start running against both files. So I wouldn't want to adjourn it, but I will do my best to resolve it, Your Honor.
All right, and then if we need to do a breakout room on the day of sentencing, we could do that as well.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Ziegler, anything further?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Hulwick, I said that you had your hand raised. Did you have a question?
I was just going to state that I should probably be removed from this facility quite soon because I've been through all my orientation stuff. I don't know how the rules all work here with court hearings coming up and everything, whether or not they would move me prior to that, but I'm all done with all my orientation.
Okay. All right, that concludes this